Mia Harper was 11 years old tonight. She found her mother lying on the cold marble floor of the Crosstech building, blood pooled beneath her head like spilled ink. She had come to surprise her mom with dinner. Vanessa always worked late on Thursdays, and Mia had convinced their housekeeper to let her bring takeout from the Italian place her mother loved. She rode the elevator to the 20th floor, humming along to the music in her headphones, completely unaware that in 2 minutes her entire world would tilt sideways. The reception area was empty. The lights were dim. Mia called out for her mom, but only silence answered back. Then she saw the office door cracked open, and through the gap, she saw her mother's hand, limp and pale against the dark floor. Mia screamed. She dropped the food and ran, falling to her knees beside Vanessa. Her mother's face was bruised, her breathing shallow and uneven. Mia's hand shook so badly she could barely pull out her phone. She didn't know what to do. She didn't know how to help. Panic choked her, made her vision blur with tears. Then she heard footsteps. Heavy, steady footsteps coming down the hallway. Mia looked up, terrified, thinking the attackers had come back. But it wasn't them. It was Alex Reed, the quiet maintenance worker who always nodded at her when she visited the building. He wore his usual gray uniform, carried a toolbox in one hand, and had the kind of face that never drew attention. Average height, short brown hair, calm eyes. The kind of person you pass 100 times and never remember. But the moment Alex saw Vanessa on the floor, everything about him changed. He dropped the toolbox and moved with a speed and precision that didn't match the man Mia thought she knew. He knelt beside Vanessa, checked her pulse, tilted her head to open her airway, and scanned her injuries with the focus of someone who had done this 1,000 times before. His hands didn't shake. His voice didn't waver. He looked at Mia and said, calm and clear, "I need you to call 911 right now. Tell them we have a head injury, possible internal bleeding, and we need an ambulance immediately. Can you do that?" Mia nodded, tears streaming down her face, and made the call. While she spoke to the dispatcher, Alex worked. He pressed a folded jacket against a wound on Vanessa's head, elevated her legs slightly, monitored her breathing. He whispered to her, steady and reassuring, even though she couldn't hear him. Mia watched, stunned, as this man she'd barely noticed became the only thing standing between her mother and death. The paramedics arrived within minutes. They loaded Vanessa onto a stretcher and rushed her to the hospital. Mia rode in the ambulance, gripping her mother's hand, praying harder than she ever had in her life. Alex stayed behind to talk to the police, but before the doors closed, Mia looked back at him. He met her eyes and gave her a small nod. It wasn't much, but somehow it made her believe everything might be okay. Vanessa survived. The doctor said it was close. Another 10 minutes, and she might not have made it. When she finally woke up 2 days later, groggy and confused, the first thing she asked about was Mia. The second thing she asked about was the man who saved her. The police told her his name. Alex Reed, maintenance worker. No prior record. Lived alone in a small apartment across town. Kept to himself. But when Vanessa pressed for more details, she found something strange. His employment records were clean, but shallow. No work history before 3 years ago. No references. No social media. It was as if Alex Reed hadn't existed before he started working at Crosstech. Vanessa was a woman who built her career on asking the right questions. She didn't let it go. While she recovered in the hospital, the police investigation moved forward. Security footage showed 2 men in masks entering her office just after midnight. They'd been hired, the detective said, by someone inside the company. Someone who wanted Vanessa out of the way. It took less than a week to trace it back to Thomas Drake, her COO. He'd been siphoning money from Crosstech for years, hiding it behind shell companies and fake contracts. Vanessa had started asking questions, digging into the numbers, and Drake panicked. He hired the men to scare her, maybe hurt her enough to back off. But things had gone too far. When Vanessa heard the truth, she felt sick. She'd trusted Thomas, worked alongside him for nearly a decade, and he'd tried to have her killed. But what surprised her even more was what she learned about Alex. She asked Mia to invite him to the hospital. She wanted to thank him properly. When Alex walked into her private room, quiet and uncomfortable in the fluorescent light, Vanessa studied him carefully. She saw the scars on his hands, the way he carried himself, like someone trained to move through the world without being seen. The calm in his eyes that didn't match a man who mopped floors for a living. She thanked him, told him he'd save her life. And then she asked very gently, "Who are you really?" Alex hesitated. For a long moment, he didn't answer. Then he sat down in the chair beside her bed and told her the truth. His real name was Alex Reed, but the man who existed on paper was a ghost. 5 years ago, he'd been a field medic with a private military contractor, deployed to places that didn't officially exist. He was good at his job, saved dozens of lives. But during one mission, everything went wrong. His team was ambushed. People he cared about died. And when he tried to report what really happened, he was told to stay quiet. So he walked away, faked his death, started over. He'd been hiding ever since, working jobs that didn't ask questions, trying to forget. Vanessa listened without interrupting. When he finished, she didn't look afraid or suspicious. She looked at him the way she might look at someone she finally understood. She said, "You didn't have to help me. You could have walked away." Alex shook his head. "No, I couldn't." Vanessa smiled, tired but genuine. "Good, because I need your help again." Over the next few weeks, Vanessa recovered and Alex became part of something he never expected. Vanessa wanted a clean house at Crosstech. She didn't just want Thomas Drake arrested. She wanted to expose every corrupt deal, every hidden account, every lie that had been built into the foundation of her company. And she needed someone she could trust, someone who knew how to move quietly and think strategically. She hired Alex, not as maintenance, but as a private consultant. He helped her dig through files, interview employees, trace money trails. He was careful, methodical, and invisible when he needed to be. Slowly, they dismantled the network Thomas had built. But something else happened too. Alex started spending time with Mia. She adored him, followed him around, asked him 1,000 questions, made him laugh in ways he hadn't in years. He taught her basic first aid, showed her how to stay calm under pressure. And without meaning to, he started to heal. Vanessa saw it, saw the way Alex softened around her daughter, saw the way he looked at the world a little differently. And she saw something in herself too, a trust she hadn't felt in a long time, a connection she didn't want to lose. One evening, Alex mentioned an idea. He'd been thinking about the kids he'd seen in the neighborhoods where he used to live, kids who had no access to medical care, no one to teach them how to help themselves. He wanted to start a clinic, something small, something real. Vanessa didn't hesitate. She said, "Let's do it together." They found a building in a rough part of the city, renovated it, stocked it with supplies. Alex trained volunteers. Vanessa handled funding and logistics. Mia helped paint the walls. It became a place where people who had been forgotten could find help. No questions asked, no judgment, just care. But Thomas Drake wasn't finished. Even from jail, awaiting trial, he had reach. He hired someone to sabotage the clinic the night before the opening. A fire, small, but enough to destroy the medical equipment and send a message. Alex and Vanessa arrived just as the smoke alarms went off. They got everyone out safely, but the damage was done. Standing outside in the cold night air, watching the smoke curl into the sky, Vanessa felt the weight of it all. The fear, the exhaustion, the anger. But Alex took her hand, looked at her and said, "We'll rebuild. We always do." And they did. The community rallied. Donations poured in. Thomas Drake's final act of cruelty became the thing that united everyone. The clinic opened 2 weeks later, stronger than before. On opening day, Mia stood between Alex and her mother, holding both their hands. She looked up at Alex and said, "You're part of our family now, right?" Alex looked at Vanessa. She smiled, tired and hopeful and sure. He nodded. "Yeah, I am." They'd all been broken in different ways. But together, they built something whole, something worth fighting for. And in the end, that was enough.